There was a duck in my pool. Not a real duck, an inflatable one. Wearing a judge's robe. Being used as evidence in a fake HOA trial being held in Karen's driveway, under a pop-up tent labeled Community Justice. And me? I was standing in swim trunks, holding a cease and desist letter, wondering how my life had turned into Judge Judy meets Duck Dynasty. Is this real? Am I being punked? Why is Muffin the dog wearing a name tag that says HOA Enforcer? Then Karen grabbed the mic and screamed, "You are guilty of recreational obstruction." I blinked once, then calmly took a sip from my beer. Boom! The karaoke machine exploded from the feedback as I plugged in the USB drive with the audio that would end her suburban dictatorship forever. Rewind to the moment I bought a $99 inflatable pool at 3 a.m., just trying to survive the heat. What happened next? HOA warfare, fake bylaws, dog judges, and the rise of Mr. Quacker's ESQ. Before we dive into how I accidentally started a full-blown suburban war with a $99 pool and a rubber duck, smash that like button, subscribe for more HOA horror stories, and drop a comment if you've ever had a neighbor try to annex your backyard. Let me set the scene for you. I was 3 sips into a lukewarm beer, standing shirtless in my brand new inflatable pool, when my life turned into a bureaucratic fever dream. The kind of dream where everyone's wearing boat shoes, holding clipboards, and threatening legal action over patio furniture. Now, I know what you're thinking. Inflatable pool? Really? Yes, inflatable. I'm not rich. I'm not trying to impress anyone. I just wanted somewhere to flop down on a floaty and slowly dissolve into a semi-sentient prune during this ungodly heat wave. I work remote, I own exactly 1 pair of swim trunks, and I've been in a long-term committed relationship with my $89.99 Walmart pool for all of 6 days. And things were going great until Karen showed up. Let me introduce Karen properly, because she doesn't just show up. She descends, like a malfunctioning drone armed with a triple-shot venti latte and several laminated HOA regulations. She is the self-proclaimed president of our neighborhood HOA, interim. But don't let that fool you. She runs the place like a suburban warlord with an Amazon Prime account and way too much free time. So there I was, mid-float, sunglasses on, tequila playing softly from my Bluetooth speaker. And then I saw the shadow. I looked up and boom, Karen, pastel blouse, white capris, clipboard in hand, standing in my backyard like she was inspecting a crime scene. "Good morning," she said, in that tight, customer service voice that people use right before they report your dog for looking at their lawn too aggressively. I blinked at her from my pool. "Hey, can I help you?" She didn't answer immediately, just clicked her pen. You ever hear someone click a pen passive-aggressively? Because I have. It's haunting. She finally spoke. "We've received multiple complaints regarding your installation." I looked around. "What installation?" She pointed with her pen. "That," she said, like I'd erected a nuclear reactor next to her begonias. "Your water feature." I nearly choked on my beer. "Water feature? You mean my pool?" "Yes, your open-access aquatic structure." Pause. Open. What now? She didn't miss a beat. According to Section 4.3.2 of the HOA Visual Uniformity Clause, any permanent or semi-permanent feature that is viewable from adjacent properties and contains more than 200 gallons of water shall be considered a community amenity. I just stared at her. "Ma'am, it's a pool. From Walmart. It deflates if I sit on it wrong." Karen narrowed her eyes. "Does it contain more than 200 gallons? Maybe? I don't know. I didn't measure it in biblical cubits." She gave me a tight little smile. The kind of smile that said, "You're already losing, you just don't know it yet." "Then I'm afraid it qualifies. As of this morning, it is now recognized as a communal water feature, which means you are responsible for ensuring fair access to other residents." I blinked. Twice. "You want what now?" Karen tucked a paper under my windshield wiper. "A schedule for designated swim times. I've allotted slots for the Munsons, the Barclays, and the Morales children. You'll also need to provide seating and sanitation for all guests." I stood up, water sloshing everywhere, sunglasses sliding off my face. "You're telling me I need to share my inflatable pool?" With half the neighborhood. Karen didn't answer. She turned and left, her clipboard held high like the sword of suburbia. And just like that, my pool was hijacked by HOA communism. That was Monday. Tuesday, I woke up to find a sign zip-tied to my back fence. House with garden community water zone. Access by schedule only. Below it, in Comic Sans, was an actual printed schedule. Guess whose name wasn't on it? Mine. I checked the HOA website. Nothing about pools. No visual uniformity clause. No section 4.3.2. Just Karen's face on every other page and a link to her Etsy store. By noon, the Barclays were in my backyard. 3 kids. 2 floaties. 1 Bluetooth speaker playing Baby Shark on repeat. I came outside to find them doing cannonballs while their mom sipped lemonade in my chair. When I told her this wasn't a real rule, she smiled and said, "Oh, Karen said it's all approved. She said you're on board." On board? Lady, I'm barely afloat. By Wednesday, the Morales family had invited their cousins. 7 of them. They brought snacks. One of them unclogged their chip bag over my pool. There were Doritos in the filter. Thursday, someone hung a beach ball from my clothesline. Another kid dragged a cooler through my tomato garden. My dog, a 16-pound mutt with anxiety issues, now barks whenever someone unzips a pool float. By Friday, I was no longer the owner of a backyard pool. I was the unpaid lifeguard of a chlorinated war zone. And Karen? Karen was thriving. She waved at me from across the yard like she'd won a Nobel Prize in petty tyranny. I caught her giving a tour to someone. A tour of my backyard. I overheard her say, "We're so lucky to have such generous neighbors." Karen had built herself an empire out of my hose water. But if she thought I was going to just sit there and let it happen, oh. She had no idea what was coming next. So, by Friday night, I was no longer a homeowner. I was the unwilling manager of an unlicensed water park, and not even the fun kind with funnel cakes and questionable lifeguards. This was more like if a community center and a fever dream had a chlorinated baby and dumped it in my yard. I sat on my porch, beer in hand, staring at my own pool like it had betrayed me. Doritos floated like lost souls. One of the Barkley kids had left a pair of Crocs submerged, and I swear the water had turned a color not legally found in nature. I'm pretty sure a Capri Sun straw was stuck in the filter, and the dog wouldn't stop growling at the inflatable flamingo that definitely wasn't mine. Karen, of course, was still on her victory lap. She posted a picture on the HOA Facebook page titled, "Waterwave, our new shared space. Thanks to resident Greg for building community spirit." Waterwave. First of all, Greg? Lady, my name is Eric. Second, building community spirit? I built nothing. I bought that pool at 3 a.m. with a credit card I shouldn't have had access to after 3 beers and a bag of Cool Ranch. And now it was public domain. You'd think I was exaggerating. I wish. On Saturday, some guy I'd never seen before showed up with a towel over his shoulder and just walked in. Said he was scheduled for laps.
Laps.
In my inflatable pool. Then came the straw that broke the chlorine-soaked camel's back. Karen showed up with a clipboard and a whistle. "I've been appointed community pool supervisor," she chirped. "Appointed by whom, you ask?" Karen. She appointed herself. Democracy, who? She actually tried to blow the whistle at me when I stepped into my own pool. "You're not on the rotation," she said, scribbling something on her chart. "You're interfering with scheduled family swim." I was about 3 seconds away from drop-kicking a beach ball into orbit when I had an idea. A beautiful, glorious, legally sound idea. You ever feel your brain click into chaos mode and suddenly every dumb moment you've endured becomes fuel for vengeance? That was me. I went inside, pulled up the HOA bylaws again. Yes, I saved a PDF out of pure spite, and I started digging. I spent the next 4 hours deep in legal hell, fueled by pettiness and caffeine. By 3 a.m., I had something magical. Loopholes. Turns out, according to HOA rules, which Karen had written herself, any community amenity must meet health code standards, provide public liability insurance, and undergo monthly safety inspections by certified personnel. Guess what Karen's shared water feature didn't have? Anything. Guess what I did next? filed a formal HOA violation report against myself for unsafe public aquatic facilities. It gets better. I CC'd Karen, the HOA board email, which is just Karen's email in 4 different fonts, and the county health inspector's office. I knew Karen would lose her mind. She did. The next morning, I printed out the full health code documentation and stapled it to my own fence, right next to the community water zone sign. I highlighted the parts about biohazard risks, unapproved filtration, and the possibility of community-spread Legionella bacteria. Yes, Legionella. I went full biological warfare. At 10:42 a.m., Karen showed up, furious. No clipboard this time, just blind rage and a bottle of Febreze, like that was going to solve a public health crisis. "You can't shut down the pool," she yelled. "According to your own rules," I said, pointing at the highlighted section like a deranged lawyer. "This amenity is a health violation and must remain closed until further notice." She scoffed. "You can't file a report against yourself, Karen," I said calmly. "This is our pool, remember?" And then I pulled the masterstroke. I filed a second violation, this time citing Karen for operating a community facility without liability insurance. I printed it, laminated it, shout out to Staples, and zip-tied it to her front gate. 2 hours later, HOA swim time was officially suspended. I didn't stop there. Oh no, I went full Home Depot vigilante. I drained the pool. I scrubbed it with vinegar. I deflated it, folded it, and then I set it in my garage behind a 6-foot pile of junk and a vintage treadmill I will never use. That pool was now a hazmat relic. Karen, predictably, was outraged. She sent me no less than 7 messages on the HOA chat group demanding I return the community feature to its rightful location. She used the phrase dereliction of duty. I replied with a gif of SpongeBob burying something in the sand. You'd think this would be the end, right? Wrong. Because Sunday morning, I found a fresh surprise in my yard. Petition, stapled to a half-deflated beach ball. Apparently, Karen was trying to vote my backyard into official HOA recreational zoning. It had 9 signatures, including her dog, Muffin, who had signed with a muddy paw print. That's when I knew. Karen wasn't just annoying. Karen was declaring war. And buddy, I was just getting started. So there I am, Sunday morning, standing in my yard barefoot, staring down at a beach ball that has a petition duct taped to it. It's deflated. Not fully flat, just sagging like it had seen some things. The thing had been aggressively kicked under my mailbox, and written across it in Sharpie were the words, "Official HOA motion. Zone Eric's backyard as community recreation area. Sign below." 9 signatures. One of them was Karen's actual signature in cursive with a heart over the I, because of course it was, and one from Muffin the dog, who apparently has voting rights now. Another just said, Todd. I don't know who Todd is. Todd might be real. Todd might be a wine-induced hallucination Karen had after too many roses and an online HOA strategy webinar. But I knew one thing for sure. This wasn't over. Now, up to this point, I had played the game fair. By the book. Petty, yes. Vindictive, absolutely. But legal? Always. But Karen? Karen was out here conducting legislative sessions with pool toys and dog paws. So I decided time to take this up a notch. Not with violence. Not even with more loopholes. I was going to hit her where it hurt. Her HOA credibility. See, the HOA isn't some government entity. It's a self-run, semi-voluntary group of bored people who love rules more than basic human interaction. Their power comes from illusion. From the idea that if they send you a letter in serif font with a gold seal on it, you suddenly owe them $300 for daring to have a bird feeder. Strip that illusion. They've got nothing but clipboards and disappointment. So here's what I did. I created a satirical HOA newsletter called The Weekly Wading Pool. I printed 50 copies and had them accidentally delivered to every house on the block. On the front page, local HOA president declares backyard pool a shared resource, cites dog as voting majority. Inside, I included an exclusive interview with Karen's inflatable committee member, Mr. Quackers the pool duck. A community survey that asked questions like, Should we annex Karen's rose bushes as a community farming initiative? And a centerfold spread of Muffin the dog in a necktie with the caption, "Elected by the people, barked for the people." I signed it all under a very official-sounding name, Erickson T. Chlorine, Deputy Chair of Resistance. By Monday morning, the neighborhood was buzzing. And I mean buzzing like a wasp nest after someone whacks it with a pool noodle. I saw neighbors laughing on their porches.
Actual laughter.
From people who previously acted like smiling was against code. One guy even held up his copy and said, "Tell Mr. Quackers I support his economic plan." Karen? She was not amused. That afternoon, she stormed down the street like the HOA had declared DEFCON 1. She was gripping one of my fake newsletters like it had personally insulted her mother. Her heels were clicking at a speed that sounded like impending litigation. She didn't knock. She just banged on my door like it owed her child support. "You think this is funny?" she shrieked. I sipped my iced coffee and leaned in the doorway. "A little. This is defamation. Only if Muffin sues me," I replied. She pointed a trembling finger at me. "You have no idea who you're messing with." "Neither do you," I said. "But you're gonna find out." I shut the door. Cue petty revenge level 9000. Karen launched what I can only describe as a full-scale suburban propaganda campaign. Overnight, she installed lawn signs that said things like, "Comply to unify. Rules are love." And my personal favorite, "Don't let pools divide US." She even went door-to-door handing out tiny laminated HOA pocket guides. Pocket guides with tabs. I found one in my mailbox with a post-it that read, "Let's be better." Karen Poodle. The little dog emoji was probably meant to soften the message. All it did was make me more determined. Now, I could have gone back to posting memes, but I wanted to do something bigger, physical,
Permanent.
So I installed a fence. Not just any fence. An 8-foot-tall, reinforced wood-paneled masterpiece of anti-Karen fortification. It surrounded my backyard like a medieval fortress. I even hung a sign on it. "Private property, no lifeguard on duty. Trespassers will be towed and/or sprinkled." Karen lost it. She tried to report it as an HOA violation for visual obstruction. I sent her a photo of my fence with the caption, "It's not an obstruction. It's a boundary. Try it sometime." Then came the cherry on top. I held a ribbon-cutting ceremony for my fence. I invited the neighbors, played music, served lemonade, cut a red ribbon with actual giant scissors I borrowed from a friend who does grand openings for a living. Muffin even showed up.
No list.
Just vibes. Karen watched from her window like a Disney villain whose evil lair just got turned into a dog park. She didn't come outside, but I saw her, seething, plotting, because I had embarrassed her publicly. And Karen does not take defeat well. So what did she do? She escalated. Again. The next morning, I woke up to find a notice taped to my front door. Not the usual paper kind. This one was printed on glossy cardstock with an actual wax seal. It read, "You are hereby summoned to attend an emergency HOA vote to determine the lawful recreational designation of your backyard. Failure to attend will result in a default judgment. Please bring proof of pool ownership." She was trying to vote my backyard away. She was calling an HOA trial over a Walmart pool I bought drunk at 3 a.m. Okay, so let me paint you a picture. It's Thursday morning. I'm standing on my front porch in gym shorts and a Garfield, "I hate Mondays" t-shirt. Yes, I know what day it is. Irony. Holding a summons that looks like it was printed at Hogwarts. Karen's wax-sealed monstrosity demands my appearance at an emergency HOA tribunal, which I'm 99% sure is not a real thing anywhere outside of Game of Thrones and cult documentaries. It's scheduled for 3 p.m. in Karen's driveway. Yes, her driveway. There's a note at the bottom in bold Comic Sans. Refusal to appear constitutes agreement with community judgment. Next to it is a badly photoshopped picture of Muffin in a judge's robe. I think she used a Snapchat filter. So now I'm being tried by what appears to be a rogue HOA cosplay group operating out of a minivan and a wine club. And here's the kicker, I go, "Why? Because if you're gonna drag me into nonsense, I might as well show up and win the nonsense. 3 p.m. The trial. I arrive to find no less than 12 lawn chairs arranged in a semicircle on Karen's driveway. She's set up a folding table with a lace runner, 2 scented candles, and a nameplate that says, Chairwoman of Order. Which is weird because the only thing Karen has ever ordered successfully is other people around. The board is made up of the same 3 people who always back her up. Brenda, who once threatened to sue a squirrel for nesting in her gutters. Jean, whose hobbies include lawnmower polishing and snitching. Muffin, the dog, sitting in a tiny booster seat wearing a gavel-shaped chew toy. On the table, a Bluetooth speaker playing softbach, a pitcher of cucumber water. And, because apparently we've gone full theater, a microphone attached to a karaoke machine. Karen taps the mic. It squeals. Welcome, neighbors, she says. As if we've all gathered here to start a book club and not witness the slow implosion of suburban decency. She gestures to me. The accused may approach. I glance around. Am I allowed to object to being called the accused? Or are we skipping to the part where I'm sentenced to death by clipboard? Karen ignores me. We are here today to determine the future of the communal recreational zone, previously known as Eric's backyard. Still currently known as that, I interrupt, and to evaluate whether said zone should be formally incorporated as part of our HOA's shared amenity package. I raise my hand like we're in kindergarten. Yes, she sighs. 2 things, I say. 1, my backyard is not a zone. It's a rectangle of grass where I sometimes drink beer and contemplate my poor life choices. 2, you don't have the authority to incorporate jack squat. This isn't NATO. Karen smiles. That infuriating, tight-lipped, I baked gluten-free banana bread and it sucks but you will say you like it kind of smile. Oh, but we do, she says, pulling out a folder thick enough to choke a goat. Per page 6 of the Supplemental Community Engagement Protocol, we're allowed to designate underutilized resources for neighborhood benefit. Jean, from the peanut gallery, nods solemnly like she just quoted the Constitution. I raise my eyebrows. Did you just call my pool an underutilized resource? Brenda, flipping through papers. It's true. Karen compiled usage data. You weren't using it Tuesday from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. I glare at Karen. I work during the day. She shrugs. Then perhaps you shouldn't have built such a tempting oasis in plain view of the community. I can't tell if this is a tribunal or a weird breakup. Then she says it. Furthermore, she continues, you have failed to provide lifeguard services, guest seating, and open swim signage as outlined in our draft amendment titled Unified Pool Etiquette Expectations. I blink. You made a pool etiquette document? It's 14 pages, she replies, smug. You need a hobby. That's when she slams down Exhibit A. A laminated photo of me, shirtless, holding a beer in my own pool with the caption, observed not wearing proper aquatic attire during community hours. Jean gasps like I just flashed a toddler. This, Karen declares, is why governance is necessary. And just when I think I've hit peak HOA insanity, they call a witness. Not just any witness. Mr. Quackers. Yes, the inflatable duck. My duck. Karen produces him from a tote bag. He's still half deflated from when I angrily shoved him into storage. She props him up on a cooler and clears her throat. Mr. Quackers, you were present during several neighborhood swims. Do you believe the environment was safe, structured, and compliant? She holds the duck up. Silence. Then she turns his beak and makes a high-pitched noise. I object to the reckless individualism demonstrated by Eric. The room nods like this is normal. Like we're not watching a 48-year-old woman puppet interrogate a pool toy. And that's when I know. This is my moment. I pull out a USB stick. See, what Karen didn't know is that I had started recording our interactions weeks ago. Not out of paranoia, okay, yes, partly out of paranoia, but mostly because I assumed I'd eventually need receipts for this exact HOA circus. I plug it into her karaoke machine, bless that off-brand Bluetooth tech, and the recording plays. Karen, my voice says, crystal clear. This is my private pool on private land. You can't regulate that. And Karen replies, You're not wrong, technically. Her voice, on tape, acknowledging that none of this is enforceable. Karen lunges for the mic. Brenda gasps. Jean's jaw drops. Muffin farts audibly. I turn to the crowd, now about 7 neighbors deep, watching from the street with folding chairs and snacks, and I smile. This trial, I say arms wide, is over. The HOA board dissolves the meeting in awkward silence. Brenda pretends she has another engagement. Jean hurries home to polish his mower or whatever. And Karen? Karen just stares at me. You've made a powerful enemy, she whispers. I sip from my thermos. Good. I'm running out of room in my scrapbook. But of course, it's never that easy. Because later that night, I got a knock at my door. A certified letter. Inside, a legal document. Karen is suing me for intentional obstruction of community progress and emotional distress caused by pool monopolization, and attached to it, a screenshot of Mr. Quacker's, labeled as Exhibit B. Okay, so let's recap, because honestly, it's been a wild ride and I'm not even sure if I'm living in a neighborhood or a deleted scene from Parks and Rec after a few tequila shots. I installed a cheap inflatable pool. Karen declared it a community water feature. She scheduled public swim hours. I turned the tables with loopholes and satire. She held a fake trial in her driveway featuring my inflatable duck as a hostile witness. And now, she's suing me. I open the certified letter, and I swear I can hear the theme from Law and Order playing faintly in the distance. Charges include obstruction of community development, deliberate non-compliance with fictional bylaws,
Émotionnel sabotage via fence installation.
unapproved aquatic monopolization, and my personal favorite, defamation of a pool toy used in official proceedings. That's right. She's suing me over Mr. Quacker's, the duck, the actual inflatable duck. I'm reading this thing and laughing so hard I almost choke on my Pop-Tart. Because while she's citing the Simmons Valley Recreational Equity Addendum, which she definitely made up, she forgot one key detail. I have receipts. Literal, legal, bulletproof documentation that proves my property is not part of her HOA. My pool is private and not subject to zoning. Karen has, in fact, broken at least 4 actual laws during this tantrum. And Mr. Quacker's is, technically, my property, so unless she bought him visitation rights, she's got no jurisdiction. But you know what? I don't just want to win. I want to bury her entire HOA fantasy in a shallow grave of her own printouts. Enter my lawyer. Well, not my lawyer. My cousin Sheila. She's a corporate attorney who thrives on chaos and wears suits that make people confess things at brunch. When I called her and explained the situation, there was a long pause. Then she said, "Do you have pictures?" "Oh, do I?" I replied, emailing her the duck trial footage, the fake tribunal, the HOA propaganda signs, and the screenshot of Muffin's photograph on the pool annexation petition. Her response? "I'm going to eat this woman alive. Be ready in 2 days. Friday, court day. We arrive at the local small claims courthouse. It's tiny, smells like burnt coffee and printer ink, and the judge looks like he'd rather be doing literally anything else. Karen's already there, perched at the plaintiff's table with a color-coded binder that probably required a full Staples rewards card to assemble. She's got graphs. She's got laminated exhibits. She's got a PowerPoint. She also has Muffin with her, emotional support, she says. Muffin looks like he'd rather be adopted by a biker gang. The judge asks for opening remarks. Karen stands. "Your Honor," she says with a syrupy voice, "we are here today because the defendant," she gestures at me like I'm a gas leak, "has repeatedly undermined community harmony, disrespected shared resources, and committed what I can only describe as aquatic tyranny." She clicks the remote. Slide 1. Me drinking beer in my pool. Slide 2. Mr. Quacker's with googly eyes photoshopped on him. Slide 3. A pie chart labeled Neighborhood Sadness Index. The judge squints. "Is that a duck in a hat?" "Yes, Your Honor. That is Mr. Quacker's, a victim of character defamation." The judge looks like he wants to fake his own death. Then Sheila stands. No slides. No fanfare. Just fire. Your Honor, she begins, her tone smooth as a guillotine. The plaintiff is attempting to enforce fake laws, fabricated rules, and imaginary zoning codes on private property. We have documented evidence of trespassing, harassment, property misuse, and an illegal kangaroo court conducted in a driveway, complete with stuffed animals as key witnesses. She drops a manila folder on the table with a satisfying thump. And more importantly, the plaintiff has no legal claim over the defendant's property because, brace yourself, it's not in her jurisdiction, not even close, not by a single blade of grass. The judge nods. I see. Ms. Whitmore, do you have proof that the defendant is part of your HOA? Karen blinks. Well, he's adjacent. Adjacent isn't a legal boundary, Sheila says. It's a direction. Karen stammers. But he has a pool. That he bought, installed, and paid taxes on. Alone. The judge leans back, steeples his fingers. Let me make sure I understand this. You want this court to recognize an inflatable pool on private land as communal property because it looked fun. Karen's mouth opens, but no sound comes out. The judge sighs. Case dismissed. Boom. Sheila winks at me. I almost break into applause. But I don't. Because I'm petty. And I have one more thing to say. Your Honor, I ask politely, I'd like to submit a counterclaim for harassment, libel, and attempted pool theft. The judge raises an eyebrow. Got documentation? I smile. Sheila opens another folder. Let's proceed, the judge says. Epilogue. Karen settled. She didn't want it public. Too bad the whole neighborhood already knew. Turns out, being humiliated in front of a judge, your neighbors, and your own dog will do that. The HOA? It's under review. 3 people quit. Muffin was removed from the official member directory. Mr. Quackers now resides in a place of honor, mounted on the fence with a sign that reads, Private pool, private duck, public shame. As for me, I upgraded the pool. Still inflatable but bigger. LED lights, cup holders, an actual skimmer net. And best of all, it's mine. No Barkley cannonballs. No HOA schedules. No communal anything. Except the occasional neighbor who drops by with a 6-pack and says, Man, I still can't believe you made Karen lose to a pool toy. I just raise my drink and smile. Welcome to suburbia, baby, where the HOA might try to drown you. But if you fight back with just enough sarcasm and a duck named Quackers, you float. So yeah, Karen lost to a pool float and a USB drive. If that doesn't deserve a like, I don't know what does. Make sure to subscribe for more ridiculous real-life dramas. Comment below with your favorite petty revenge story. And remember, never underestimate a guy with Wi-Fi and too much free time.